So this is the second week of the expansion, and it is the week of the Delves. Mythic Zero came out, but it's only giving 593 gear, and Delves are guaranteeing 603 gear with a weekly 616 eye level vault slot. So it seems like Delves have taken over the minds of all WoW players. When originally announced, I think Delves had a lot of pushback. A lot of people related them to Torghast, which is something a lot of people hated, while Blizzard said it was aimed at giving players content they could do solo or with a group, kind of like the Mage Tower minus the group aspect. Well, yesterday I spent the whole day doing Delves. I did 5 characters, 4 bountiful Delves each, after leveling up from tier 3 to tier 8, and I did them all solo. I did them on my warrior, I did them on my brewmaster, my druid, my pally. I also did it on my rogue, which I couldn't solo. And that's something I want to talk about today. I want to talk about my general experience in Delves, some of the plus side of them, and some of the negative side of them. So first, let's talk about the negative experiences. Delves right now in our gear, I don't think is solo content for anyone but tanks. I don't play healer, but talking to healer friends, they had bad experiences in there as a healer with Braun as a DPS. Most of them said it wasn't fun and it felt more like a chore. I think something they should change is giving Braun the ability to tank and giving him tank abilities. He could be a DPS and a healer and has specific abilities for those 2 roles, but tanks are hard to come by, and if you really want solo content, he needs to be able to tank. Even if they didn't do it because maybe 2 tanks is OP in a full group, they could limit it to tank roles for 3 or less players or something like that, but Braun needs to be able to tank for healers and DPS. Next, Braun kind of sucks as a healer. He does next to nothing for healing. His potions are okay, but you need to run around to get them, which sometimes you just can't, and other times you get killed. He should give out moderate direct heals that are higher for DPS roles and lower for tank roles. So if you want to go in as a DPS, you have a fighting chance of surviving the pulls. Some DPS are fine. My Frost DK friend was in there and he was fine. He said it was a little bit of a struggle, but he was able to keep himself alive. While my Spriest buddy could never survive. He had 1 interrupt on a 45-second cooldown and everything was casting at him. He said there was no shot he could do it. Bran needs to be a better healer when being the only healer in a group. Now, for things I really don't like, there's not much. That might be it. They do feel like a bit of a chore right now across all classes, but that may be specific to me because I'm trying to gear up 5 classes at the same time. So it's not like I'm doing my 4 daily bountifuls and moving on. I'm almost locked into a 20 a day. But I can do that because most are tanks, while a lot of people gearing multiple healers in DPS are going to have a much more difficult time with it because they can't go in solo. They need to find a group. And right now it's the hot thing, so everybody is doing it. But when that kind of dwindles down, it's going to be harder and harder to find groups. So being a DPS or being a healer and going into Delves is much harder than going into a Delve as a tank. And I would like to see the changes I mentioned above to make it more soloable content from more than just tanks. I know we're a little under geared going into it, but I feel like even at the appropriate level, some healers and some DPS could never do this solo. You know, there's just so much stuff going on that some of those classes just can't keep up with it, while others probably do fine. And I think it needs to be balanced a little bit across that so that healers and DPS don't feel like they're not able to do the soloable content because of their class. Now, let's talk about the positives. Delves have been really fun for me. I talked about how only tanks being able to solo, or at least solo easier, was a negative in the greater scheme of things, and I think that's true. But myself, as a tank player, it's been really enjoyable to go into content on my own schedule, and be able to be challenged because they're not super easy for a tank, they're just much more doable. And it's not like heroics where you can just be a DPS with threat. You actually have to use your kit, which has been great for me and great for drilling in rotations for some of the tanks I play a lot less. And I think a lot of tanks will find out that it's a better way than follower dungeons to learn your class, and a less punishing way to do it than doing it in a Mythic Zero group, because if you lose your lives, you can just reset. You don't have that pressure of being in a group and having everybody being upset with you because you pulled wrong or being mad at you because you didn't use a defensive. You know, you're on your own and you can learn and you can make mistakes, and it's not bad, but it does put pressure on you to learn and to use all of your abilities. So I think it's going to be really good for new tanks to really get a hold of how their tanks should be played, because some of them are very difficult, and if you can get through them as a tank solo, you learn a lot about your class. Next, I love that they feel more like a dungeon than a mini game. There's packs you avoid, packs you pull. Some packs have prio mobs, they cast quite often. You have that pressure that we'll see when Mythic Plus unlocks. But people are seeing that stuns don't stop cast, kicks are necessary, and I think it's been a really good way to show the community what's coming in the future and how game plans will need to change. Stops aren't king anymore, and I think it's been a really good intro into what we'll see in Season 1. Moving on, Braun as a DPS slaps. I'm pretty sure he scales in damage whether you're solo or in a group, or he was bugged in the last one I ran. But when I was soloing, he was doing okay damage, nothing crazy, little help, but it was nothing over the top. But when I was running one in a group, and I was the one who started the dungeon, so my Braun came in, he was doing insane damage. I don't mean like good burst damage, I mean like 2 million DPS sustained, which he did not do solo. Granted, my brand was about level 30 at the time, but no one in the group could figure out why things were dying so fast until we looked at details and it showed my Brewmaster doing 2 million damage, which he's not even close to doing that, and 98% of my damage was Bran. We also went in a DPS down, so he was our third DPS, and I'm not sure if that played a role in it, but whoever has the highest level Bran should be the one to start the delve because he helps a ton when he starts going off on DPS. Lastly, I love that you are guaranteed gear. In Mythics, you're always hoping to get something, and runs can feel wasted if you don't get that piece. You can have levers, and sometimes it can feel bad when you have a string of bad luck and run multiple dungeons without getting anything. With delves, you know you're getting that piece of gear, everyone knows it, and everyone wants to finish. And I think with the heroic lever situation we've been going through, this has been a breath of fresh air. So after doing delves all day on several characters, a multitude of tanks in a DPS class, I personally think with some tuning, they could become a real success. I think when Mythic Plus opens up, I'm obviously going to lean into that much more than delves, but I do think I'll still do them. I think when everyone's logging for the night, I may pop into delve for that guaranteed piece of gear, especially since they will be scaling as higher tiers come out. I'm also really looking forward to the 13th delve. I think that's going to be really fun, and overall I've enjoyed the delve experience. I'm someone who enjoys the solo side of WoW a lot, and sometimes I want to relax with a TV show on, but still be productive, and I think delves give that to me. So I'm looking forward to see if they receive tuning, nerfs, buffs, gear changes, etc. And I want to see them improve on this system because I think the system is good. I think it just needs some minor adjustments. So overall, I think delves have been a success and I've been enjoying them, and I think that they can be really good for the solo player who just does some open world content, some mid-core content. They don't need to go in with extravagant gear, and go in and have a good time, be challenged, and not have that pressure of the group around you making sure and yelling at you or doing things like that that some people don't want to deal with. So I think it fits very well into the niche they were going for with delves. So that's how I feel. If you feel differently about delves, if you hate them, if you love certain aspects of them, if you hate certain aspects of them, leave a comment below. I want to hear from you guys to see what you think of delves so far. So till next time, guys.